Here's the 1-2. Swing and a miss, strike three. Curveball got him. Lester strikes out all three. Fly ball deep left center field, back toward the wall. He's got a chance. Gone! The runner goes. The pitch outside. The throw by Ross. And the tag. He's out. He's out. Great throw, David Ross. Chapman making his 30th pitch. Here it comes. Strike three call. Lindor caught looking. Swing and a miss. And there will be a game 6. A thunderous roar at Wrigley Field.
I've never been looking forward to wanting to play the 7th game of a World Series in my life.
And with a win tonight, Joe Maddon will get his wish. His Cubs stayed alive in Game 5. They face elimination tonight in another do or die. But they have Jake Arrieta on the bump. Will Jake be great again, or will it be the Indians that see their championship drought end? Sports Talk Live at Game 6 of the 2016 World Series, and it starts right now. And welcome in right outside Progressive Field. I'm David Kaplan. Our show, as always, brought to you by the great people at the Chevy Silverado. Man to my left is David Hall, lead columnist for the Chicago Tribune. Sahadev Sharma, who was all over that Schwarber story last week, him coming back from theathletic.com, and co-lead columnist. He is a writing legend. He is Rick Tellender from the Chicago Sun-Times. All right, boys, we were hoping we would get here. It's epic. It's awesome. What's your guys' take on what we're going to see tonight?
I think we're going to see history, but I think that that means, to me, I think the Cubs are where they want to be. Back in an American League ballpark, Kyle Schwarber in the lineup batting second. I think this is an opportunity for them. Cleveland, as I wrote today, you come back here, the weight is back. I mean, they have waited a long time. There's more pressure on them. The Cubs are freer to play. I think we're going to Game 7, and that's going to be a historic Game 7.
I agree. I think we're seeing Game 7. I think we shouldn't underrate Josh Tomlin, breaking bad ball command guy. That's a big underrated aspect in pitching. When you're secondaries, when you can command those secondaries, that's really underrated. They just need to change their approach a little bit, stay in the zone. I really believe they'll get to them a little bit early, and if they can put up a few, calm down, relax, and we'll see Game 7 go against Kluber. Who knows what happens?
A couple things strike me. Number one, this is baseball weather. I mean, here we are, it's November, and it's mid-70s. I walked over, I got from my motel about a mile, I got really hot.
You did okay, you're winded.
I was gonna get down to the shorts. So I mean, that's a big difference between what you would expect at this time of year. Second thing is Jake Arrieta was the Cy Young Award winner last year, and I just feel that he has it in him to be dominant. Josh Tomlin looked like Bob Gibson against the Cubs in that first game that he pitched. But in August he had a 11+ ERA. I mean, the guy is pitching out of his mind. So you just have to hope that he's not that dominant guy that he was before, and that Arrieta is the person that we know he can be.
Also, much different lineup in Game 3 than he's facing tonight. He did not have Schwarber going against him at Wrigley Field, and I think that's going to make a little bit of an impact because, as we saw in the first 2 games, when Schwarber's in the lineup, it does affect everybody else in the way that they're pitched.
And how about the fact that he is in the 2-hole as opposed to the 5-hole? He'll get probably an extra at bat out of that, and you may see more fastballs because of who's behind him, Bryant, Rizzo, Zobrist.
Yeah, I think that's big. Him being up there, he's an on-base guy. He's had the most patient approach, and he's only been in, 2 games in an at-bat in Chicago. But he's had the best approach of the group. It's you want that patient approach up top, get him on base for the big guys. Maybe he'll slug one out early, too, and they'll get on the board early. I think this is, Cleveland really needed to knock this team out in 5 because you can't give this team confidence, can't get them going.
Got to get an early lead.
Yeah.
I think it's important to get an early lead because if the Indians reduce this to a 5 or 6 inning game and they've got the lead after 5 or 6, you fear as a Cub fan that it's over because of the bullpen.
Well, I also I wonder about Aroldis Chapman. The guy pitched more pitches the other night than he ever has. I mean, that's not what a closer does, come in the 7th inning. So it's very interesting how this game will go. And we've seen from Joe Maddon, he's not afraid to do anything. The idea of Kyle Schwarber, a guy who was crippled, batting number 2 in the World Series is just crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if Maddon puts him out in the field at some point. Anything is possible. I know he's got a big leg brace on, but we're seeing 2 managers who are just going, all out. They're dropping everything. Doesn't matter what the past is. This is, this is for all the money.
The key to the whole thing for me, obviously Jake has to be Jake, is getting a lead early. I'm not saying you got to be up 6-0, but you cannot be 2 runs down at the end of 4 innings and look down and go, well, they can go Miller for 3, Cody Allen for 3. You're in big trouble.
I think also, I agree with that, Cap. I also think that Arrieta coming out with the command that he really didn't have. I mean, he was good here the other day, but he started a little bit slow, a little shaky.
Well, he got the first 2 guys, and then it was 17 pitches.
Then all of a sudden, it's like, what happened? Where did that guy go? So if Jake Arrieta comes out, and I think it's weather conducive to his kind of approach. I mean, if he is that guy early, and you get that sense that intensity is there, the location is there, the command, then I think it could be the Cubs' night.
I completely agree. They need the lead early. But one thing that's kind of going overlooked is the fact that this bullpen of Cleveland, they've had short series, 3-game series. It only took them 5 to knock out Toronto. This is the longest they've gone in a series, and they've shortened up that staff, so they're leaning on so few pitchers, and now it's 6 games. If they get into 7 games, it's leaning on so few pitchers could turn out to be it's the right formula for them, but it could be an issue for them in the long run.
Well, it's going to be interesting. They're expecting Jake to give them 7 innings. That's what they're hoping that they can get. And then go right to an Aroldis Chapman. Who is the bridge guy if, heaven forbid, Jake struggles early? Jake uses up a ton of pitches to get through 3 innings, and you look, you go, oh, my God, he's already at 70-some pitches. Who does he trust down there?
Your family's here, by the way.
I would say Strope.
I don't know. I think Carl Edwards Jr. I mean, that's a guy that you saw him have some faith in early. Or late the other day, he turned the game over to him, a 25-year-old rookie. I think that if Arrieta, for whatever reason, is at 4.5 scuffling, losing command, I think you're going to see Edwards sooner rather than later.
I think you'd see Montgomery, too. He likes Montgomery. He trusts Montgomery.
I think he trusts him the most of any guy down there other than Chapman.
Yeah, it looks like he does. He really has leaned on him this entire postseason. Granted, the first 2 series were lefty-heavy lineups, but he's done it in this series, too. He's risen to the moment, and you got to appreciate that.
You guys think there's any chance, if they needed a bridge guy, 5th, 6th inning, John Lester's coming out of that pen? He said he's available.
If he said he's available, and we know Joe Madden, and this is it, that's the thing. You want to enjoy this game, but every Cub fan is also terrified. There's those dual emotions going on. You don't waste anything, because if you don't get to Game 7, it means nothing. And Lester is the kind of guy, I know it seems odd.
Well, it's not only, to be inconsistent, and I think tomorrow night, I understand that. But a guy who's not going to come back on short rest to pitch in game 4, why would you bring him back, in Game 6? You'd want to keep him rested in case you need him in Game 7.
All right, time for our poll question. Again, you can vote at csnchicago.com/vote. No special app, no cost to you. You'll see the results as they tabulate right on your screen. Here is the question. Which Cub most likely to get out of his World Series slump tonight, which would be probably the huge key to this game?
Yeah. Javi? Javi could be a key tonight.
If he swings and pitches in the strike zone.
Batting 9th, maybe the bunt single kind of shook something in his head. He's got to go back to being the disciplined hitter he was more so in the Dodgers series. Because once he got the NLCS MVP, it was like,
he reverted right back to 2014.
Explosion of ego.
Yeah. It's rough watching his at-bats right now, because it's not, you can predict everything that's happening. It's exactly how he looked at when he first came up, striking out half the time, swinging at everything out of the zone. You get 2 strikes on him, just throw him a breaking ball and he's going to swing. It's hard to watch right now, but I think Madden said it best. These are the type of guys that just like that, one moment, it can switch for them and they can get back to that comfort level. He just needs to get back within himself. I do wonder, being back here, away from the craziness of Chicago, how much that both he and Willie admitted that kind of was a little much for them. They
overwhelming.
They saw that and they didn't realize how big it was, and they almost felt like, we have to do this for these guys, for these fans. Let's go out there, and they almost put too much pressure on themselves. Maybe pull it back a little bit. They're on the road. They don't have to worry about craziness of Cubs fans at Wrigley Field.
I was trying to check the wind as I look over there at the park. I think it's blowing out.
The flags were pretty
this weather's very odd, but here's a guy,
not blowing at all.
Ben Zobrist. I think this is a kind of moment where he might just really shine. He was hitting a lot of fly balls at Wrigley when the wind was blowing in that were, everybody's screaming, the crowd, and then they just kind of die. They're like short of the wall. I just would love to see him count on all of that experience that he has. The reason they got him too, just like John Lackey, who's not performed that well, but Zobrist is I think, really a key member of this team.
Do you guys think that Joe West, the umpire, Country Joe West, plays any role in what happens tonight?
Absolutely.
Because he is a veteran guy who does not give you that much off the plate and then that much. He's by the book. Here's what the strike zone is. You guys adjust.
One way or another, he's going to be a character in this drama. I think that's a given his history, given his personality. I think it could favor the Cubs because Tomlin is a little bit of a nibbler. He's a guy that probably needs that extended, plate, and I don't know that he's going to get it from him.
By the way, we just showed a shot of the flags, and they are hanging limp in the ballpark. Wow. No wind whatsoever right now.
That blimp up there, that blimp is drifting, as I look at that thing, but...
Right, but that means that you have a chance to take the ball out of the ballpark because there's no wind as a factor, and it's a home run haven in there.
Yeah, the offense was up big time this year. I mean, all around the league, but here in particular. So I think that could bode well for them. I agree. Zobrist is a big key because he's been striking the ball well all series. From game one, it looks like he's been locked in at the plate. He said he was battling to me. I disagree with him. I think he's locked in and feels good.
Rick, do you think you've been around here forever? Do you believe? I mean that as a compliment.
Look at David laughing. It's true.
I mean that as a compliment.
This is my last World Series, I believe, ever.
You never know.
No, you never know.
Do you believe that being away from Chicago is a good thing simply because our fan base gets a little freaked out, and if it's 2-0 Indians in the second, at Wrigley it's one dynamic, at Progressive Field it's another?
I actually do, Cap. I know there's fans there. They're gathering. They're going to be watching all over Chicago. I know that there's this frenzy. But this enables you, without the noise, without the people you can just sense in the ballpark, I think it enables a visiting team to calm down and just do what you have to do. That's just my gut feeling. Look, if the Indians were to win tonight, I wonder what's going to happen to this city. We know what will happen in Game 7 if the Cubs win in Chicago, but you have two teams here that are two cities that are on edge. And also, the Cavs are playing right now, right across the street. LeBron James and these guys again.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, the Kings said that they could play earlier, so the Indians are even bigger than LeBron. But I think that's a good point, Cap. I think it's even magnified because if they're playing another team besides the Indians, they go away from home, they're going to benefit from being away from Wrigley, I think. But they come here,
and their crowd will freak out.
Absolutely.
If they're 2-0 in the hole.
It's the same dynamic because there's 48 years of weight, or no, 68 years of weight on their shoulders, and that is very hard to ignore, as we know from just coming from 3 games at Wrigley Field. So I think that magnifies it even more.
Yeah, it's almost like mirror images, except our drought is 40 years longer.
It's not 68 years is a good start by Wrigley standards.
It's not a good feeling to feel a team coming back on you. They were up 3-1. Now it's 3-2. If it goes to 3-3, all of a sudden Cleveland's going to be very tight.
On edge. All right, let's go inside Progressive Field. Our coverage, as all throughout the postseason, is driven by Lexus. That's where we find Cubs pitching coach Chris Bosio, kind enough to give us a few minutes. All right, Boz, Jake Arrieta goes to the Hill. He won 18 ball games. He had a Cy Young year a year ago. What do you expect to see from Jake? How much length do you think you can get out of him?
Well, I think we're going to have the normal rest, so I'm expecting Jake hopefully to give us at least 18 outs and pitch into the 7th, but we got a rested Penn. So let's get that lead and expect Jake to fill up the strike zone with his dynamic stuff. He had a real good side session in Wrigley yesterday, so I'm looking for the same old Jake Arrieta, the guy that we know and love, and hopefully we get this win tonight and ride this thing into tomorrow.
Chris, when you look at your bullpen, you said you have a rested Penn ready to go. The only guy you really pushed the other night was Araldis. Who is that bridge guy if you need to go to someone fairly early, if Jake's pitch count gets elevated for whatever reason? Who do you go to? Because it doesn't look like Joe wanted to use much other than C.J. Edwards into Aroldis Chapman, maybe a Mike Montgomery. Would he be the first guy?
Yeah, you'll probably see a Monty or a Stropey tonight. Obviously, Grimm and Woody and Rondon are in play. Ronnie pitched 2 big innings for us the other night. Looks like he got his breaking ball command back, but all hands on deck right now going into tonight, and just trying to find a way to win this game. So, he's got his matchup card, but I would imagine it'll probably be Montgomery or Strop if we had to go early.
How do you characterize the mood in your clubhouse? Is it quiet, businesslike, or no, same loose group of guys?
It's loud and rambunctious as usual. Just kind of way this heartbeat of this club goes. I mean, they're got 4 different kinds of music listening. Peter Chase is walking around trying to turn the music down. The guys are turning it back up. So pretty much par for the course.
Absolutely par for the course. Last one I have for you. How much do you have left in the tank with Chapman? He went 40-plus pitches the other night. He was magnificent. How much can you ride him tonight, and if you need him into tomorrow?
Chappie said he's ready to go. Had a nice off day yesterday. He said he did some trick-or-treating around his neighborhood. So I'm sure Chappie will give us exactly what we need out of him tonight, whatever that may be.
Chris, thank you for your time. Best of luck tonight, and here's hoping I see you tomorrow as we get ready for a Game 7.
Sounds good, Cappy. Take care.
All right, thanks, buddy. There you go. Chris Bosio. We'll have a lot more from Cleveland coming up next. Todd Hollandsworth's going to join us, and we'll have a whole lot more with our panel. Cubs and Indians, Game 6. A win, and we see an unbelievably epic Game 7 tomorrow night. Don't forget postseason live after the ball game and coming up at 6 to get you set for tonight's game. Be right back.
Sports Talk Live is presented by your Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Chevy dealers who know what it takes to be number one. It's all about drive.
How's it going? Hi. Today we're going to be comparing the roll-formed high-strength steel bed of the Chevy Silverado to the aluminum bed of this competitor's truck. Awesome. All right, let him drop. Let's see how the aluminum bed of this truck held up.
Wow, that's a good size puncture.
That's all the way through for sure.
Full on crack here.
You're aluminum now, you're gonna go, ooh.
Let's check out the Silverado steel bed.
Wow. Yeah, a couple dents.
I'd expect more dents.
Chevy clearly held up better than the Ford.
Here's some information. We have the right amount of beer taps. If we had any more, the kegs wouldn't stay fresh. Any fewer, and we might not have that beer you like on tap. The one you can't pronounce, so you just point. We've got all that and more, which makes us pretty confident. We've got that confident look in our eyes, the squinty one with the furrowed brow, because of the taps.
Esurance does auto insurance a smarter way. They offer a claim-free discount because safe drivers cost less to insure, which saves money. And when they save, you save. That's auto and home insurance for the modern world. Esurance, an Allstate company. Click or call. Esurance does auto insurance a smarter way, like their photo claims tool. It helps settle your claim quickly, which saves time, which saves money. And when they save, you save. That's auto and home insurance for the modern world. Esurance, an Allstate company. Click or call.
Tonight on CSN, after falling at home to Calgary, Patrick Kane and your Hawks hit the UC ice again and look to deliver some payback of their own. But the Flames have other plans. Coverage begins at 7 with Chevy Blackhawks pregame live on CSN.
Well, if the Cubs want to play tomorrow, they better figure out how to hit Josh Tomlin's breaking stuff. Check out Stat of the Day driven by the Chevy Silverado. Tomlin threw 58 pitches in Game 3 at Wrigley. Only 4 of them, 4 were fastballs. According to MLB.com, he threw 19 cutters, 17 sinkers, and 15 curveballs. The Cubs managed just 2 hits off Tomlin, 1 on a sinker and 1 on a cutter. All right, welcome back outside Progressive Field. You're watching Sports Talk Live, brought to you by the Chevy Silverado. I'm David Kaplan with David Haas, Sahadav Sharma from The Athletic, and Rick Tellender. Okay, you guys have covered a lot of events, a lot of cool events, Super Bowls and NBA Finals and all of it. Where does this rank? Because It's been 71 years of futility. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think if we get to the point where the Cubs win the World Series, obviously it's the pinnacle. I think the Cubs in the World Series puts it right near the top. And the Blackhawks Stanley Cup titles were big, and the Bears in the Super Bowl, and the White Sox winning in Houston, those are all very comparable to this. But a Game 7 tomorrow night here for the Cubs, a chance to win the World Series, I'm not sure there would be a cooler sporting event to cover.
I'm surrounded by veteran reporters here, so obviously for me, the World Series, Cubs to Indians, that's the biggest event I've ever covered, and I don't even need it to go 7. I believe it will, and I hope it does, because that'll be great to cover as well. But this has been the best event for me to ever cover.
You know, nobody's talked much about the White Sox winning in 2005. They kind of just get shuffled off. I think, you know,
I just mentioned it. Huh? I remember.
Somebody said, well, Chicago hasn't been to a World Series, you know, in all those years, and they forgot completely about the White Sox. That was a very exciting moment for me, but I honestly, the Blackhawks very exciting too, especially those parades were unreal. But I'll go back to the 85 Bears. I was down there in New Orleans, and when you came back to Chicago, this feeling of unity for the whole city was gigantic. Now, I know Sox fans are not completely on this bandwagon. I understand it. But Cubs fans need to be purged of this thing that goes back 108 years.
I think it's an incomplete answer now because the series is still ongoing. And I think, Cap, if you talk to us, you know, on Thursday and the Cubs are celebrating, we're planning a parade and how to cover that, there's no doubt that that will be, you know, the height of everybody's career. Because I think that when you cover something that momentous, you talk about the 85 Bears, I think it's bigger than that. You talk about the 6 Bulls championships, it's bigger than that. The Cubs winning the World Series would be the highlight of everybody's life.
All right, let's go back inside. Again, our coverage of the postseason brought to you by Lexus. Dan Flesack, who does great work with MLB Network, longtime friend of CSN as well, kind enough to give us a few minutes. Daniel, you have said from the get-go at the start of the season that you felt the Cubs would win the World Series. Now they're in a 3-2 hole battling against a very good Cleveland Indians team. What is your take on what we see tonight?
Cap, if you're going to be down 3-2, I think the Cubs are in the best scenario you could ever imagine when you have Jake Arrieta and Kyle Hendricks going Game 6 and Game 7. There aren't a lot of teams, and I thought this is what would come in play eventually. The depth of the Cubs starting pitching. Neither one of these teams have hit well so far this postseason, but I just think the depth of the Cubs starting pitching, and I think Jake Arrieta is going to throw a really good one. I had a chance to talk with Chris Bosio, who was a teammate of mine for 7 years, and he said that Jake had a terrific side session before this game, and usually his good side sessions lead to good performances. So, Cap, I think you're going to see a good one from Jake tonight.
Kyle Schwarber, Danny, moves up into the 2-hole. What is your thought on how that affects the lineup? He was in the 5-hole the other day here in Cleveland for 1 and 2. Now in the 2-hole, that gives you some thunder right at the top of the lineup.
Yeah, not only that, but listen, Cap, in this day and age, we're in this postseason of 2016. It's about a race to try to get at bats before Andrew Miller gets involved. I think it's twofold. You want to get this guy as many at bats as you can get before that bullpen comes in, and I think 6, 7, 8, 9, there's not a lot of protection down at the bottom part of that Cub order. Listen, we've seen it all series. 6, 7, and 8, and that 9 slot have not been very productive. So you need to have this guy, somebody around him to give him some protection. I love him hitting in a 2 slot right behind Bryant in front of Rizzo. This should be the perfect spot for him, hitting in that 2 slot tonight.
Dan, when you look at Josh Tomlin, he did not throw very many fastballs, 4 or 5 the other day, by whatever metric you look at. What do you expect to see today? Because having Schwarber in the 2-hole, you would think he'd see more fastballs to keep protection from Bryant and Rizzo having guys on base.
Well, I think what you're going to see tonight, Cap, for Josh Tomlin to survive through the order a couple times through, he needs that fastball that Greg Maddux brought into play, that he'll start at Kyle Schwarber and Ben Zobrist's hip. He'll throw that ball at the left hip and try to bring it back over the plate. If he doesn't have that, it's going to be a very short night for Josh Tomlin. If he does have that, it complements his cutter, and his best off-speed pitch is that slow curveball. Now, the Cubs, going back to the last start, they went up there, thought they were going to get a steady diet of curveballs. They didn't. They saw sliders and cutters. So I think you may see Josh Tomlin early on incorporate that curveball a little bit more. He needs that fastball, though, Cap, the one that starts at the lefty's hip and breaks back over.
All All right, last one. Joe West, Country Joe West, is behind the plate tonight. Does he play any role in this game because his strike zone radically different than a lot of the umpires guys have seen in the last few days?
I think it's advantage Jake Arrieta. Anytime you have to bring the ball over the plate, it's tough to win in this league. You have to have really good stuff if you're going to be in that white part of the plate. I think it's advantage Jake Arrieta. Cap, his stuff is plain and simple, just better than Josh Tomlin's. Josh Tomlin needs a little bit off the corners. Jake Arrieta is one of those few guys that when he's on, he can throw the ball over that white part of the plate. I think it's advantage Jake Arrieta.
Dan, appreciate the knowledge. Enjoy the ball game tonight, and hopefully I'll see you for a Game 7.
You'll see me, and I'll have the Big Blue Train hat on tomorrow night for Game 7.
You're the best. See you then. All right, there he is, Dan Plesac from MLB Network. And he made some interesting points. He talked about, Chris Bosio said that Jake had a very good side session yesterday, and that his history is when he has a good side, he usually pitches exceptionally well.
You know, with Jake Arrieta in a stage like this, I'm not so much concerned about his stuff. I think it's going to be there. I think I'm worried about the shoulders up. You know, I think he's a guy that can get in his own way sometimes. If he's locked in, intense, and I think doesn't overthink it, I think you're going to see the best of Jake Arrieta. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, fastball command with him early. Make sure he's getting strike one. See if he's using his secondaries, if he has command of his secondaries, all that stuff early. If the velocity's up there, look in the first 3 innings, you see those things happening, then you can start to trust we may see a really strong outing from Jake Arrieta. If he can get that strike one early and start pounding the zone early, he'll get them to chase late, and that's when the slider really comes out, which he's been using to a lot more effectiveness in the postseason, which was just completely lost in the regular season.
You know, one thing you see when you get to this level, you got the best players, the best teams, that a straight pitch, if it doesn't move, it's going to get hit. And you talked about Tomlin throwing almost all breaking balls. If anybody but Aroldis Chapman, basically, you can throw it 100 miles an hour. If it doesn't do something, they are going to hit it. That's how good these hitters are. So I think the breaking pitch for everybody is going to be key. Sliders, all that stuff. Tomlin is a clever pitcher. You mentioned bringing Schwarber up to the 2-hole. Is that going to change the way he pitches? I don't think it will, because I don't think he can do that. He does not want to throw fastballs. He wants to throw, we used to call it junk, but it's so much harder to hit a breaking pitch, a changeup, any of that stuff than it is a straight fastball. And I don't think he's got a really good fastball.
And let's face it, the Cubs all year were conserving Arrieta, looking ahead, you know, using him
for moments like this.
Yeah. For moments like now. I mean, they wanted October, we're into November. Is he fresh? I think he is, and that's why, you know, this is when all that work and all that thought pays off. If he's fresh tonight, there's a reason why.
Yeah, the funny thing is that there were games where Lester, Arrieta, they came out of the ball game and they went, "Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You took me out at 86 pitches? What are you doing?" And
Yeah.
Joe Madden said, "They're bigger fish to fry with 12 games in front." That's like tonight.
Yeah, this is what it's all about. This is what Jake's been saving up for. This is what, if you can forget about the so-so season if he delivers tonight. If he's lights out tonight, forget about he didn't back up a Cy Young season with another dominant season. It doesn't matter. All that matters is tonight.
You know, it's an odd dynamic for a pitcher. You want to be fired up, but you have to be kind of mindless and thoughtless, and you go out there and you do what you've always done. You can't get worked up over a bad call by Joe West. You just can't let that happen. You have to be it's a very odd mindset you have to get into. And I know that Arrieta is a master of that with all the Pilates, all those things he does. He's very aware of that almost Zen-like moment that you have to be in to be successful. You know, something that Phil Jackson used to teach his players, whether they listened to it or not, whether Michael Jordan did or not. He taught it. And I think that Joe Madden talks about, I know he does, talks about a lot of things that Phil Jackson used to do. And I think that Arrieta can use that kind of mindfulness to be successful.
He's got 2 no-hitters, a Cy Young Award. But these are the moments that legacies are made. And a moment like tonight is you're going to stick with Jake Arrieta a long time.
All right, we've got to take a timeout. We'll come back and a whole lot more from outside Progressive Field. Todd Hollinsworth's going to join us. We will get you all set, ready to roll. We're 30 minutes away from our pregame show. We're an hour and 48 minutes away from first pitch at Progressive Field. We'll be right back. You're watching Sports Talk Live, brought to you by the Chevy Silverado on CSN.
Which service makes your home the best home for the holidays?
With Xfinity X1, you can search for all of your favorites. Just talk right into your remote.
Show me holiday movies. That is super easy.
During the holidays, more people come over. Let's bring out your extended family. 7 devices using the same network.
No buffering, no slowing down.
How does this compare to your service at home?
Much better.
Get a limited time holiday offer for $89.99 a month for a year with up to 75 megabits per second of speed. Or ask how to upgrade to get $400 back. Click, call, or visit an Xfinity store today.
Get the Bob Roman ending. Oh, now. To pay the rent. Get the Bob Roman, Mr. Bill. Ooh. I scared him. How was that?
Bob Roman.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat?
1 in 5 children struggles with hunger in America. Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
It's not easy talking about funeral expenses, but I didn't want to leave that financial burden to my family. If you're between the ages of 50 and 85, protect your family now with a policy from Final Expense Direct like I did. The average funeral is over $8,300, leaving your family with a lot of costly bills. But for as little as $1 a day, Final Expense Direct has policies that help pay the cost of your funeral and other final expenses. You also get the Family Relief Guide that really helps plan your final wishes. There's no medical exam, even with the pre-existing condition. My rate will never increase. My benefits will never decrease. My policy can't be canceled. And there are no restrictions on how my family can use the money. With one call, you can be approved like I was.
Call now for a free quote and get a free National Prescription Savings Card. Call 800-673-1454. 800-673-1454.
Blackhawks back on CSN tonight. They look for their 4th win in their last 5 games against Flames team that beat them in a shootout last week. Blackhawks pregame live drops the puck in our coverage at 7. Pat Foley and big Cubs fan Eddie Olczyk have the call at 7:30. All right, back inside Progressive Field. That's where we find Patrick Mooney of CSNChicago.com. He was just there when Joe Madden spoke. All right, Moon, so Aroldis Chapman is ready to roll and can give them 2 innings tonight, correct?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Cubs are hoping for a Cy Young type performance from Jake Arrieta. But yeah, this is why the Cubs acquired Chapman, and it took a while to kind of find that right moment for him where he was able to kind of get out of his comfort zone, break his routine. But he certainly delivered in Game 5. It kind of changed really the complexion of this series. The Cubs hoping that maybe the Indians are going to start to feel some of that pressure that they felt in Wrigley. But yeah, I think you're going to see Chapman warming up if Joe can go for the kill here tonight.
What do you think is going to be the play sheet if Jake is not able to get them 7 innings? Let's assume, like the other night, he went 5 2/3, I think. Who's the first guy they go to? Mike Montgomery? Is it Pedro Strop? What do you think?
Yeah, I do think it depends, obviously, on the matchups. Montgomery has clearly shown that left-handed look has been effective throughout the playoffs, that this is a guy they think can be a long-term rotation answer for them. But he also clearly trusts Carl Edwards Jr. going to him the other night at Wrigley Field. This guy's got swing and miss stuff. He's got a ton of velocity. And then, yeah, you can just hope you can get that bridge towards Chapman. That was something that scouts were talking about, at the beginning of October, that, what is Joe going to do? How's he going to manage? Can they get the ball to Chapman? I think that'll definitely be a major storyline here tonight.
All right, any talk from Joe about Javi Baez and fixing the approach that he was so good in the CS, but he's really struggled in the World Series? He's swinging at more balls out of the zone than anybody on either team.
Yeah, I mean, you know Joe, he's not a guy who's breaking down video or throwing jargon at Javi. He's just been, kind of putting positive thoughts in his head, more mental than anything else. Between kind of Madden, John Maley, and Eric Hinsky, their hitting coaches, they've been trying to, pull Javi aside, just trying to get him to slow down. We all know that crazy Gary Sheffield bat speed. We saw how, the Cubs don't get here without Baez being an MVP type performance in the NLCS, that huge home run against Johnny Cueto in Game 1 of the NLDS against the Giants. I mean, Javi's admitted that the game has really accelerated on him here, on this World Series stage. But at the same time, this guy can impact a game even if he goes 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. When the Indians want to push that running game, he's got that sixth sense for tagging, and obviously they want him at second base. That's what they think, hoping Jake Arrieta gets ground ball after ground ball.
All right, last one. Did Joe give any thought on why he moved Schwarber into the 2-hole and why he's catching Wilson Contreras?
Yeah, at this point, they just want to try and force the Indians to pitch to Schwarber. They saw how careful they were with him in games 1 and 2. They did not want him to be the guy that beat them, so kind of bumping him up, you kind of put their most dangerous hitter there, and that's a spot where I think even next year you're going to see Schwarber hitting there. Contreras, once again, trying to shut down that running game. He's worked with Arrieta before, and his bat plays, I think, is their best bet from an offensive and defensive standpoint.
Good call. Yeah.
Appreciate the knowledge. Enjoy the game. I'll see you inside.
All right, thanks, Cap.
Thank you, Patrick. All right, again, our Sports Talk Live poll question. Which Cub most likely to break out of his World Series slump tonight? Is it Bryant, Contreras, or Baez? You can vote. CSNChicago.com/vote. No special app, no cost to you. We will have the results as they tabulate right on your screen. How would you guys vote?
I think that Javi, because I think he's really capable of doing much more than he has. I think that the motions maybe have gotten the better of him. Chris Bryant started to break out the other night because without that home run, the Cubs may not be looking.
Right.
He might not be here. So it's a situation where I think he has Contreras. Yeah, maybe. I think Baez probably most likely.
I think it's Bryant. I think they were really. I think the other guys were going out of the zone and kind of not doing what they're supposed to do. Bryant was. They just were attacking him well. It was like the Indians came out to neutralize Bryant. And when he got that fastball from Bauer and drove it into the seats in his second at bat, you could tell he was a little frustrated by the curveball strikes in his first at bat from Bauer. I don't think he liked that strike 3 call. He attacked that fastball, drove it into the seats, and he kind of felt locked in. He looked locked in. I think he had a walk later on in the game. When he's seeing the ball well, I never worry about him. I wasn't worried about him early. He's the type of guy that can switch like that.
Ricky T?
I go with Bryant, absolutely. I know he wasn't happy about that called strike. He has a natural, pure swing that he just is unslumpable, if you will, for very long. Don't forget his dad's his swing coach. His dad's always around. I go with Bryant, absolutely.
All right, and you at home are going Bryant as well. Thank you for voting on our poll question, CSNChicago.com/vote. All right, quick timeout, and my partner from our pre- and post-game coverage, Todd Hollingsworth, joins us here on set next. You're watching Sports Talk Live on CSN.
Wow. Did not see that coming.
Something else you didn't see coming? Outstanding customer service delivered by collision pros who ensure your low point ends on a high note. You may not see it coming, but you'll know where you're going. Get to Gerber.
With Custom Ink, you can design custom t-shirts and other great products for every occasion. From the first day of school to game day and everything in between. With the best collection of styles and graphics to choose from, it's easy to go online and create custom t-shirts and more for all of life's events. Get free shipping and on-time delivery, guaranteed. Go to customink.com to get started today.
Do you have too many bills but not enough money? Would you like one lower payment for all debt, little or no money down? I'm attorney Peter Francis Geraci. Our Chapter 13 plans stop collections and creditors in one day for as low as $95 every 2 weeks. Get rid of bill collectors and high car payments. Get one lower payment today. Call or click now.
When you need to be debt-free, call 1-800-CALL-PFG. That's 1-800-CALL-PFG.
Through our partnership with the Blackhawks, Make-A-Wish was called to bring a few children to the game that are battling cancer. When it kind of accumulates to this big night, Hockey Fights Cancer, this just allows everyone to take a step back from the everyday grind. And this is a way for all of them to do something really fun to kind of aid in that emotional and physical healing that they really need.
CSN Chicago brings you the complete Bears coverage and game preview you deserve on Bears Blitz. Hear from the players, Coach Fox, and more. Interact with us with hashtag Bears Talk. Bears Blitz, presented by Xfinity, Thursday at 4:30 on CSN. High school football fans, every Friday night on High School Lights, check out Drive, Lincoln Way East Football, presented by Riverside Healthcare, as our cameras take you behind the scenes of a program with state title aspirations all season long.
Will Joe let him go on 3-0? He does, and a base hit. Here comes Rizzo. Schwarber's delivered 2-0. Schwarber with another base hit. Comes up 4-0 here in the 5th inning, and Schwarber's knocked home
2. All right, there you go. He will be in the 2-hole tonight. Kyle Schwarber batting second in the Cubs lineup. And welcome back on our Sports Talk Live show here on CSN with David Haas, Sahadip Sharma, and we bring in Todd Hollinsworth from our pregame show. And Holly, we were just showing some video of Kyle Schwarber here last week. What's your thoughts on him in the 2-hole? He hasn't really had a meaningful at-bat other than one pinch hit opportunity in 5 days. Does that affect him at all?
Not at all. I don't worry about it. He took 6 months off to rehab his knee, for crying out loud. What's 5 days going to do? I mean, honestly, I'd give him a Christmas vacation if he needed it. Probably hit the day after Christmas. This guy can hit anywhere. Honestly, he could hit in a snowstorm, and that's the great thing about him, is that he's that kind of player. Most of this is, listen, it isn't about his knee. It's about his mind. It's about what he does when he walks into these huge moments, Cap, when the lights are this bright, when you know millions of fans are, watching you. When you stand out there on second base and you look back and you see 35,000 light bulbs go off after you've hit a double. I mean, that's it. I mean, he gets it, but he doesn't sweat it. And that's the battle that we have as players when we step onto the stage, is controlling that anxiety that we're playing with. I mean, it's intense. It can overtake you. It's like opening day over and over and over again.
More importantly, though, then how does it affect Josh Tomlin on the mound? Because this is a guy that it's a different lineup than he faced in Chicago. Schwarber wasn't in there. It may affect how he approaches him. He's also at home. There's going to be a lot more tension that he's going to have to deal with that wasn't there at Wrigley Field.
It exists, but I think it exists really early. This is their ballpark. I mean, they've played here. He's made, 18 starts. I don't know if it's like he's 14 starts at home here. I mean, he's not going to be, he drove the same way as he's always driven to the park today. Probably ate at the same place that he always eats.
The place is full of people.
I understand
waiting
that.
68 years.
But it doesn't change what you're thinking in your mind. It does for a second when you walk out to this incredible crowd. Remember, they didn't draw that well this year, but they've been here during the postseason. The fans have been, and I expect this place to be nuts. You feel it for a little bit, but then you start to get into the rhythm of what you do. And all I'm saying is it's easier to do when you're at home, much like our Cubs players at Wrigley Field. You know where your toe hold is in the batter's box. You know what side of the mound you like to throw from. I think for Tomlin, early on, you're controlling your nerves, but then you kind of get to your rhythm, and then, you see what you got.
When you look at this matchup tonight with Arrieta and his electric stuff, Tomlin's 87, 88, only threw 4 fastballs in his start at Wrigley. What type of approach would you as a hitter have, knowing, man, he handcuffed us the other day?
Well, it's a great question, and I know there's a lot of former ball players around here, and we're all kind of giving our 2 cents on how we're supposed to go after Tomlin. There's 2 ways to do this. There really is. Now, the classic one that we all typically say, and you're probably going to hear me say it again, think up the middle, go the other way, right? Allow the ball to travel, and so you see it a little bit longer because he's only throwing 88 miles an hour, and you can stay inside the baseball and go to your opposite field. Well, there is another way to do it as well. And it might actually be the way that makes a little bit more sense for this Cubs team, which is to actually make an adjustment in the box. Move up and get closer to the plate. You can do that as well. Part of what I see sometimes with our hitters, you guys were talking about Javi Baez, pulling off everything, right? Head's going everywhere. You tell him to go the other way. Well, listen, if we could go the other way every time somebody told us to go the other way, a lot of times we'd go the other way, but it's never that easy. You got to control your mind, you got to control your swing, and you got to control that emotional energy. So sometimes making an actual physical change in the batter's box by moving up in the box, moving a little bit closer to the plate, puts an awareness of, you're not going to throw that curveball away from me all night long, because look where I'm standing. If you throw it and it's where I'm looking for it, I'm going to pull it and I'm going to hit it hard.
You surprised at all they didn't go back to David Ross behind the plate with Joe West going to be there behind home plate umpire? You've got a big moment, Jake Arrieta on the mound. He needs to be sometimes managed from a mental perspective. Also, Contreras isn't hitting great. This seemed to be an opportunity where at least that would be considered to be, one that you could get Ross in the lineup.
I'm a Ross guy, yeah. I thought, Cappy was with me. I asked him in the parking lot 2 months ago, are they resting you now for the postseason run? I thought we were going to see a heavy dose of David Ross over and over and over again, to the point where I thought he was going to be tired, and we were like, who's going in for David Ross? He needs a blow. That's what I thought was actually going to happen. Now, they've gone with Contreras. He controls the running game. We know he's a better offensive player. And listen, the future is his. This kid's going to be around a long time. He's going to probably be an all-star catcher. This kid's got great instincts. But this is that go time, as you're referring to. And you want to know that you've got the guy who's got the slower pulse. That's what I used to always believe. Not the guy who's got the higher, who runs his engine higher. I am worried. Kevin Millar actually made a really good point earlier. I got to talk to him earlier today, and he's like, Contreras throws the bases a lot. I said, yeah, he loves to do that. He goes, he's one bad throw away from that thing really just setting everybody off.
Kevin Millar said, what if you hit somebody's helmet?
He does it a lot.
And boom, it's down the line.
And guys, we're to the point now where we've seen it in this series. Some of them don't really serve a purpose. The Indians know he can throw. I mean, I've seen guys get back simply and easily.
Who's a better framer of pitches?
Well, and that's a great question. The numbers tell you that David Ross is with Arrieta. That's what the numbers tell you, but they continue to go with Contreras because they believe they're controlling the running game better.
Joe Madden, will he pull Contreras aside? Will somebody pull Contreras aside and say, you know what? Tonight's not the night to show off that arm. Be a little bit more.
He makes me nervous, man.
He does. I can see why. Because you're one throw away from a bad legacy.
I've lived this. You get to these games, and one moment makes all the difference in the world. And if that moment doesn't go your way, it can turn an entire series. It can end in a season on that one moment. And that's what these games become about. I've told you a million times. When you're in the position of losing it all, meaning your back's against the wall, all you've got left to do is win or go home. You either choose to relax and embrace and make the barehanded play, or you eat the barehanded play because you don't want to be the guy that's going to make the mistake. Some players go that way. Like, I love Contreras, but he toes that line a little bit too much for me, and he makes me nervous sometimes by throwing balls to bases that, it doesn't have to be done. The guy's not getting a big enough
If you're the Indians and you lose, you can wake up tomorrow and go, all right, we got another shot.
You got your ace going tomorrow.
You got your ace. But if you're the Cubs and you throw one down the right field line trying to pick a guy off on a back pick play, you're like, you got to be kidding me.
Well, and I think a lot of us really do feel. I mean, these games have been, of the tiniest margin, other than one of the games, right? They've all been this incredible, right? So as I've said all along, who wants to be on the wrong side of that margin based on one boo-boo, one big
fine
mistake
line,
in the wrong
Holly,
spot,
it's a really
man.
fine line because the Cubs come in here free and they're outside.
You got to play the way you play.
That's right.
You got to be yourself, and
Agreed.
You don't want to be that guy that does make that sort of mistake that nobody forgets.
Right, absolutely. And listen, you can't run away from that. The first thing you learn, every one of these guys got to the big leagues because they embraced that moment. They didn't run from it, and I totally agree. You've got to play free and ready to make those plays. All I'm saying is that it does cross your mind, again, typically as a player in the position of win or go home, just because it's there, and you know what I mean? It's like you don't worry about it, but you do, just a little bit.
All right, we've got to take another timeout. I'll see you on the pregame show,
Sounds
my
good.
friend. Timeout, Ryan Sandberg, the Hall of Famer, joins us next. You're watching CSN. We are right outside Progressive Field, and there are Cub fans inside that ballpark, and they are ready to go. We'll see how this thing all shakes out. Don't forget, post-game show right out here after the ball game. Be right back on CSN.
Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois has teamed up with the Bulls to move 2 lucky fans closer to the action as part of the Blue Seat Upgrade Experience. Don't forget to bring your Blue Cross and Blue Shield card for your chance to win. Blue Cross, through it all.
Not the most exciting dream, Pam.
Can't stop dreaming about having an extra room.
Well, this one's in a house on Realtor.com. Here. Oh, yeah. Dream home, find home, own home. Realtor.com.
You always do this. You had a couple of pops in you and got cocky. Who's up for a game of wing roulette, you said? Because you thought it'd be funny to watch one of your friends get stuck with the hot one. But your friends, they got teriyaki, then spicy garlic, and then Asian zing. And now you're looking at the last one and you're thinking, my God, what have I done?
Every night, get ready for the most dynamic show in Chicago. Epic highlights. The hardest hitting interviews.
Guys come here every single day and ready to play and ready to compete, and there's no quitting.
Your city, your teams, your show. This is Sportsnet Central. Every night at 6:30, 10, 10:30, and midnight on CSN.
Warm up for every Bears game 1 hour before kickoff with Bears pregame live. Briggs, Brown, Miller, and Bowden get you ready for kickoff and have instant reaction on Bears postgame live immediately following the game. The best Bears coverage in the city is on CSN Chicago.
Mariah Haberman here from Discover Wisconsin. Join me and the rest of the DW crew every week on this station for all things Wisconsin. Find us on social media right now for gorgeous photos and great Wisconsin giveaways. Speaking of free stuff, did you know every month we give away an exciting vacation? This month you can win a prize package to the Eagle River Derby. Just visit discoverwisconsin.com for details. Saturday mornings at 10 on Comcast Sportsnet.
Between halves, check in with CSN's Chris Bowden and former quarterback Jim Miller for their thoughts on the first half and more on Bears Halftime Live. Presented by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois. Streaming live at csnchicago.com.
For the most Cubs coverage, go to csnchicago.com. Brought to you by Wintrust.
All right, the grounds crew getting the playing surface ready. Cubs and Indians, Game 6. Can Chicago force what would be an epic Game 7 tomorrow night right back in here at Progressive Field? Welcome back on Sports Talk Live here on CSN. I'm David Kaplan with David Haas, Hadif Sharma, and we welcome the Hall of Famer Ryan Sandberg to the set. Okay, the other night, Game 5, that was the most intense sporting event I have ever been to, and I'm expecting this to be almost as intense simply because it's not in Wrigley.
I agree, Cap. Game 5 was amazing. I mean, I felt like I played a doubleheader after that game. All I did was watch, had a couple of beers and a dog. I was exhausted, but that game was pitch by pitch. A 2-1 count was a big thing. An 0-2 count was a big thing, and everybody in the stands was on board watching every single pitch. I think we have more of the same tonight. With the Cubs on the road here, I'm kind of interested about the warm weather. The Cubs won 103 games in the summertime, in the heat, in the summertime, and the bats came alive, and the run differential was off the charts. So I actually look for some runs up on the board for the Cubs. And then we got last year's Cy Young with Arrieta on the mound. I think that's a very good combination. So that's the kind of game that I'm looking for tonight.
When will you know that Jake Arrieta is locked in and that's the guy the Cubs need him to beat tonight?
Well, I think I said in Game 5, the first 3 innings are very important for one team to set the tone. Early runs in the postseason and the lead has been somewhat important. But we'll see him right away. You know, he's going on full day's rest. He threw 100 pitches. I think he'll be right in his groove and really set up to one of his better games. And he's coming off of a very good game. So I think all things, I think he'll be very positive going out there. He is on the road. You know, if he can put some zeros up there early, some bats, take the crowd right on out of it, that's the combination that the Cubs are looking for.
This is a series where the managers have played a huge role as well. And as a former manager, have you been kind of watching the way they've been handling these bullpens and really admiring what, especially what Francona's done? It's just amazing how he's gotten this team here.
Well, both managers have managed like it's the World Series. which it is. I mean, there's really no tomorrow after these 2 games, and after this series of the 7 games, there's no more baseball. So they've managed to win each and every game, and so the horses are lined up there, and I'm sure that Chapman will look at it as a World Series game, bounce right back, heat of the moment, the crowd getting on him, which he's responded to before. I think all that sets up good for him also.
You didn't play in the World Series, but you played in the CS multiple times. How would you channel your emotions in a situation like this where I've got to stay calm, I got to be relaxed, I can't be so squeezing the bat tight or tight in the field? How do you channel those emotions, especially for young guys?
Yeah, for me, it was a routine that I stuck to, and it was a pregame routine. And once I established my pregame routine, I was able to get on the field, whether it was home and away, get a little sweat going, and then it was like another day at the office. Maybe a little bit bigger butterflies for 5 minutes, 10 minutes just before the game. But once you get in there and you have your first at bat, or you take the field for defense, I think that goes away and you settle into your game. And I think that's what we've seen from these young Cubs players. They have a routine of once the game starts, they've done all the work. They've had some fun yesterday on the off day. Now it's all business. And I think that they've set that routine with Joe Madden leading the way throughout the whole year.
What was your reaction when Joe Madden went to Chapman in the 7th inning with 1 out? And how do you think that will affect him today if he is asked to pitch 2 innings as he's said he's going to be available for?
Yeah, like I just said, I think that he'll rise to the occasion because it is this situation. And with the crowd, I think that would play in his favor with the crowd hooting and hollering a little bit. I think he's the guy to answer to that. But when he came in the 7th inning, I said, you know what, this is a do or die game. Cubs are going to let it all hang out. He's the guy out there. He's going to remain in there until the end, through 9, and really liked the way that Chapman approached each inning as if he was closing each inning. Each one, I think he separated. He closed out the 7th. He went out there. He closed out the 8th, and then the 9th as if it was a 1-inning thing. And his pitch count wasn't that high. I believe it was 42 pitches. Yep. That's not off the charts by no means. I think he bounces back if needed tonight in a big way.
All right, guys, enjoy the ball game tonight. I know we all would love to see a Game 7.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Hopefully I'll see you right back on this set tomorrow. Absolutely right. All right, don't forget, Cubs Postseason Live with me, Holly, and Rhino is coming up from here at Progressive Field. For David Haw, for Sahadav Sharma, for Rick Tellender, for Holly, for Rhino, I'm David Kaplan. Thanks to our great crew. Postseason Live's coming up, and then baseball, top of the hour, 7 o'clock, and then come back here for postgame right after the ball game. We'll see you then.